Welcome to Year Zero Vlogs. In 1 year, I will be leaving academia and start a new life as a consultant, helping others to teach better. Join me on Memory Lane. Today, I'm sitting down and have a chat with you about my academia exit story. I am still inside academia, and the exit will be at the end of the year, and I will be talking about what were the turning points, my thoughts along the way, what was driving my decision making, why I went public, and how I feel at the moment and everything that I have to say about this. So if that's something that you're interested in, let's talk.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm 44 years old and this is the year 2026. I am at the moment close to Frankfurt International Airport, which is why the airplane crossing will be a feature of this video. The year 2026 is for me a transition year into something totally new. I'm a scientist. I took all the steps, studied biochemistry, went to do a PhD at the Max Planck Institution, went abroad for a postdoc, came back, worked as a scientist. I took all the steps, I published, and I was a part of academia, and I still am inside academia. My contract runs until the end of the year, and then I will be no longer an academic. I will pursue teaching, but my life as a scientist will be over. And that has to do with the up or out system that underlies an academic career. Up or out is known from a lot of places where your career is stepping up the career ladder. That's why it's called a ladder. There is not really a possibility to branch off. You either step up or you fall off the ladder. And the same in academia. It is just that for academia this is not that known, and I have the impression that a lot of young scientists, students of the next generation, they are also not necessarily fully aware of this very hard system. And maybe this video is for you if you're also at a turning point or at a crossroad. And maybe you're like me and you sticked around as long as possible, tried all of the different possibilities to go up, and then at some point you will reach an end point. Well, in brackets I have to add that I could have gone abroad. I'm located in Germany, and in Germany there is a specific endpoint because there is a law that protects us from being employed on fixed-term contracts forever, and this protection leads to a clock that is ticking above your head when you are in public service contracts. And at some point you cannot be employed anymore with such a contract. So that means the pressure is on that until a certain point of your academic life you reach tenure, so a safe position that leads you into a guaranteed permanent contract situation, and then you're safe basically. So when did I start to notice that the end is near? Well, I'm 44, like I said, so I was very aware that there is a clock ticking above my head, and I knew that within the frame of a certain range I have to make the next step, or it is very, very unlikely that things will happen for me and I will secure a position. I was aware that it's not going as I wished for, and I looked into alternative options for growth basically, because when I hit the glass ceiling, so the moment that you notice you can't go any further up, there is a glass ceiling above your head. The moment I noticed that, I was very frustrated, and also I noticed that the reason why I became a scientist is curiosity and the drive and the need for growth, that wasn't there anymore. And that has to do partly with the glass ceiling that I hit at this point. So I was looking on the right and the left, behind and forward, and not necessarily up, how I could get in this feeling of growth again. And that led me into teaching. So it was not an active choice in terms of this is where my future career will lie, but it was an active choice in terms of this is where I can grow at this point in my career, and this might open up opportunities for me later. That it would develop in what it is now, I have not envisioned 6 years back. So what I did was I invested a lot of time, aside of my 100% science work in the lab at the bench. I invested a lot of time actively and very strategically into a didactic skill enhancement program. So I ran through a whole program that is open for any professors and anyone at universities, at least in Germany. It's offered from the Didactic Center, and most scientists don't do the whole certificate because you have to be strategic with your time. When you are in the career trajectory and you're going to be a professor and you have a group and you have to focus on writing grants, publishing papers and so on, it is quite hard to do all of the courses, and also the coursework is not only time consuming, you have to apply it also that it sticks. So for me this was an active decision to invest my time into this, and the pandemic also was very beneficial in that respect because I could run through the program that is meant to be done within 2 years. I ran through it in 9 months. I was sitting there the day when I knew you have to sign in for all of the workshops online, secure your place. And I knew exactly it would be, I don't know, 10 o'clock this and that Monday morning. And I was sitting there and I knew exactly where I had to click. And I entered all of the workshops that I needed. So in the pandemic, we had a lot of home office. So we were allowed to work in the lab, but in shifts. So I could arrange very well around, and I could use this time very efficiently to power through this. I then immediately said, I want to do more teaching. And the thought behind the strategic thought was, of course, when you learn things, you only learn them when you apply them. So I wanted to apply what I learned in these workshops, and I did. I developed the whole module, the yeast course. This is a very successful module, set up in a didactic way. Everything is thought through. There is nothing left to surprise or coincidence. It is all based on what I learned during this power through 9 months doing the didactic certificate. It works in terms of the learning outcomes. It works in terms of the student feedback. I, as an instructor and educator, learned a lot by going through a lot of repetitions of this course. I think I offered it 5 years. Yes. So the turning point, there were 2 turning points for me. The first turning point was when I realized I probably will not make it professor, because you have to have the papers, you have to have the competition. I don't want to go into details. There are a lot of reasons why, for me, the doors were closed, and even those that had a little opening left, they closed pretty quickly. And it's good to be honest with yourself and not work for something that is not going to happen. So the first turning point was, okay, I need growth somehow, so that I am still a scientist. I can figure out what to do with my life, but I'm not going to be frustrated or working my ass off for a goal that is completely out of reach, which is also frustrating. The first turning point was this, and then I was diving into didactic skill enhancement and learning more about the theory of teaching, and also noticing that I can help others, and that, yeah, this is probably something that I'm also good at naturally, because it was not something I needed to then make sure that I focus very much on or try very hard. It facilitated my interaction with the students. The didactic background enhanced what was there already, but I didn't really know how to do it. And I also could give a little bit to my co-workers. The second turning point came about now 3.5 years ago, when I knew there would be a new funding period. I would be still a scientist. So I knew, okay, I have to now realistically see what can I achieve within those years of this contract running, and what happens afterwards. Because the worst thing is to run blind and without a plan into a future that is totally out of your control and thinking, yes, somehow things will fall into place. At least I'm not the type to live like that. I need a certain active decision making, and then I can live also with the uncertainty of what's coming. So this second turning point was me brainstorming hard, thinking about the craziest things of what I might do if not science. I came across a gazillion of things that I thought, okay, is this an option? Is this an option? No, certainly not. I also applied to jobs, and I was invited, and I went through interviews, and I wanted to see how it is, and I had no experience with interviewing for positions. So I did that to gain this experience, and I noticed quickly that it wasn't a fit. I felt that there was something that is not working out, and also with several other types of jobs, not going into detail here. So what was left was the question, question, what if I deviate completely? Could I do something where I'm not employed, where I don't have a boss? Is this even realistic? That was really the turning point when I came to the conclusion, why not? Why not? So yeah, why not? Why not me? Why not being self-employed? Why not build something? Why not build something that has impact and that matters for the next generation of scientists? And this is why I'm here. This is why I'm on YouTube, because I want you to find me. I want you to get to know me. The Year Zero vlogs are the personal side. The rest of my YouTube channel is the didactic content for free, so that potential future clients can get to know me a little bit better, because the world has no boundaries in the internet, right? So I'm there for all of you who need assistance, support or guidance in teaching in academia. When I realized that this is now something that I just will go for, this is it, then I was sitting down, I made my website. Then I had my website built. It was offline, it was not online yet, for weeks and weeks and months. And at some point you just have to start and you just have to do it. So my website went online. I went public. I announced on LinkedIn that this will be 2026, my last year in academia. I announced that I will make some videos about what I'm going to do in the future in my self-employment. I further developed this career in my private time, aside my job, because I'm still working as a scientist, and this is where I'm at now. And I must say, so far I don't regret anything, because the whole process and also this idea of accompanying the process with YouTube videos, with the Year Zero vlogs, and looking back on my own academic history, the history of learning and teaching, that was the idea behind the Year Zero vlogs. That turned out so much better than I could ever have wished for or anticipated. YouTube videos help to think about things in a different way, and this reflection process over a whole big portion of my life since I went to university, so this is now 25 years ago, reflecting on it and being clear with who I am as a person, who I am as a professional. The identity of being a scientist is very strong and very hard to overcome and overrule and let grow into something else, but I'm doing it, so I think everybody can do it. And I would be curious about other stories, because there are two things that you find on YouTube. I quit, academia is toxic, why should you do a PhD or not? I don't have a job, employments are down. So in other words, very negative, which I can understand because I've been there and I know the system, so I can relate to that a lot. And then on the other side, there are academics as gurus or guides. So positive and positive with a little touch, depending on which level of content you look at, educational content. And yeah, so what I felt was missing is this part in between, because it's very rare. Usually when you know that you will exit a system, or you know that you will leave a certain phase of career, it is hard to, almost impossible to report on it while you're doing it. And that's where I was really lucky, that I had this long phase, years basically, where I could, in my own thoughts, very private, very hidden from the world, decide what I would want to do. And then I also decided that I want to do this in a semi-public way, because obviously I'm not sharing everything, which is fair and fine and healthy to do. But I'm sharing part of this journey. And I also want to emphasize this up or out system. This knowledge and clarity, it gives you the option to decide actively what else to do. Because let's be realistic, I sticked around quite a long time. I'm 44 now. When I'm leaving academia, I will be 45. So pretty long time. It doesn't matter if you're 45 or if you're 28 or 35. What's important is that, considering all the variables and all of the things you cannot control that are out of your hand, it is important to know as much as possible and then make the active decisions where you can, because that gives you the feeling of being in control, and that takes away a lot of this frustration and also the danger to get really, really sick in such situations where you feel trapped and hit the glass ceiling and just don't know what to do. It's a process, and it's not a moment to develop a future that is still uncertain. I still don't know what's going to happen, but I made the decision I will go there. So be smart, if you're in academia. And yes, don't get distracted. Follow the up or out and work hard, because that's the way how to do it. Knowledge, networking, visibility, and of course doing a good job in the lab. In the end, for a career, it's the visibility, so it's the money, the paper, and of course you have to be a good scientist, but there are many good scientists out there. So be aware of how you make a career, and there is not a spot for every one of us. 99% of academics will not reach a position because there are simply only places and spots for 1%. Be just honest with yourself in which stage of your life you are. The important thing is that it is your life, it is your preference, so make a decision and don't feel weird about it. Self-determined decision-making and shaping of your own life. And nowadays, even more than in the past, this is the way to go, because we are not guaranteed a spot in the same job for lifelong. So the cool thing is, this last year of 2026, it's not the end. I thought it's the end and everything is sad and I will be very emotional and working through this reflection phase and so on. But it's not the end, it's the beginning, and it's so exciting. I'm still learning a lot of things, and I will never stop learning, because learning is lifelong and it's a lot of fun. I have so many positive interactions about it now already, and I'm looking forward to what's happening in the future. So this is not an end, this is a beginning. And it's nice that the beginning is stretched over 12 months basically. And I take you with me on this journey if you like. I would be happy if you share what steps of your career change or trajectory change was most challenging in retrospective. Did you share your thoughts along the line with someone, or did you rather hide it until you made things happen? And what would you tell other academics, life science scientists especially, about choices that you have made or turning points? When were realizations made, oh, I have to change something, or I can change something? Was this feeling of growth, I want to grow more and I hit a ceiling, was this also what triggered your decision making? Well, I would be curious to learn about all of your different experiences. I will continue to make Year Zero vlogs, and also there will be more didactic content, so if you like this, subscribe and follow along on this journey, how we call it. It's a never-ending journey. Stay happy today and happy teaching.